The name of the tool is Nielsen Media Impact. It's a cross-platform reach and frequency optimizer tool. We envision two uses for it. One is, remember that we're an advertiser when we're looking to promote shows like Andrew Tribeca and The Detour and Good Behavior. And we believe that that tool will allow us to really think about what the optimal media strategy is for that show to reach as many people within the audience target we care about. So there's definitely a marketing application. The other thing we think the system will allow us to do is basically, think about a brand like CNN and the fact that we may have an advertiser who cares about the association with the CNN brand and they want 18 to 49-year-olds. So the ability to go into the tool and say, let's find the parts of the TV inventory that work best. Let's also then add on desktop and mobile, and let's be able to look at the complete reach and frequency of that plan. So we could be talking to advertisers not about the individual components, but the overall impact of CNN from a CNN campaign from a reach and frequency perspective. That's the way we're thinking about using the tool.
Okay, and you also mentioned one of the drawbacks is you said no idea on a given night how many rating points companies like Netflix and Hulu are taking out of the market. What is the significance of that?
Well, it's huge because if you think about a company, you think about a service like Netflix, they're in 45 million homes roughly in the United States. When they've released data that says the average user uses them for 2 hours a day. So that would mean that they're taking a pretty significant chunk of minutes out of the market. And for us not to understand recently they just released the new episodes of Gossip Girls back in December. For us not to understand when they release new content, what happens in a general way, how are people using them, we may not have line of sight to 10-15% of viewing that goes on every night. And when it comes to my team's role as consumer insights, you just don't want to have that much blind spot. We need to know how they're doing. And we didn't really talk about it on the panel, but it extends down to platforms like YouTube. If we're doing an analysis of millennial video consumption, we really should include YouTube because we know millennials spend a lot of time there.
Since you brought up the YouTube platform, what do you make of the significance of Facebook opening up for the MRC accreditation? Is that important? Was that inevitable, do you think?
Yeah, I think my hope is that's the first of two big steps. One is, and it affects us because we use Facebook for our marketing campaigns. We have cleaner data that's coming out of there. But the other is, I think Facebook Live should be measured by Nielsen Total Audience as a media channel the same way we're measured. And hopefully this is an indication that they realize that they should be measured the same way everybody else is measured. Look, every cable network in the early 80s realized that you had to be in a syndicated measurement tool. On a given day, there are lots of ratings for shows we're really happy about, and then there are always some ratings for shows that we're less happy about. But we realize that to participate in the ad market, it's got to be open book. And I'm hoping their announcement is a sign that they acknowledge that, and that it's not just get the MRC done, but they should be part of the Nielsen product.
And speaking of the Nielsen total audience now, the pullback, what do you make of that? What's the significance of that in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, I thought it was low. I thought it was small. We always envisioned this was going to be a beta testing year. One of the things I think people sometimes lose a little sight of is that there are two big coverage issues that Nielsen has to overcome for the product to be useful in the market. The first is publishers, people like us, people like YouTube, as I mentioned. They have to be capturing the majority of the major publishers that are, surfacing digital video. But then the other side of coverage is, remember, a consumer can access our content from our TV network, from VOD, from our own apps, or from the MVPD apps like Xfinity. And Nielsen needs, right now we haven't heard whether Comcast and Spectrum and other cable MVPDs are going to participate. And if they don't participate and deploy the Nielsen measurement, if someone watches March Madness through the Xfinity app, we won't get credit for that. So Nielsen's got a long way to go in terms of making sure the product isn't launched until they have complete coverage. So I always thought that, the thought that they'd have data before the upfront was a little bit presumptuous. There was no way the data, knowing the way we use data and the way we need lots of history to forecast the future, there was no way that this data was going to be used in the upfront this year.
So what do you see might be different significantly in this year's upfront? Is it going to be evolution from last year in terms of audience targeting, guarantees, that sort of thing?
Yeah, we are on now the third year of audience targeting and moving away from age, sex demographics to advertiser targets being a big part of our business. I'm assuming we're going to see more success with those products in this year's upfront. There's nothing in our analysis of the deals that we're running that says this is anything but smart for us as well as for the advertiser. The thing I think sometimes people lose sight of is the fact that when you target, you drive higher ROI than if you don't target, which it's simple. You basically, if I reach more of the people in market for your product, and less of the people who aren't in market for your product, you're going to get higher ROI. So I think you're going to see more of that. I think you'll see more use of some of the other custom content tools that we've created, like Native Plus, where we're allowing an advertiser to take over an entire pod and tell a 2 or 3 minute story rather than running a fragmented 30. So yeah, I think, even though we may not get cross-platform right, I think there's going to be more momentum around the ad product suite that we've built over the last couple of years.